I want to welcome you to this wonderful event about modern art and city development. So I just want to tell you, I have written all of this in Norwegian, and I'm going to translate on the go. So I'm so excited for this because I genuinely can feel this, the amount of knowledge and expertise in this room. I'm slightly overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that you have, because I do share your goal of using the arts to develop the city and develop local society, but your field of expertise is so far away, and I'm looking forward to learn everything I can from you. Whilst you sort of do the same thing, you do it very differently. So I'm now talking about the speakers of today. They have something in common, and that is the arts, but also sustainability. It's innovation, making things public, and the collectiveness, making everything, unifying people through the arts. We know that, let's say, the small people within the creative arts are daily fighting to convince people the positive effects that the creative arts has for the local community and for the business industry. So it's wonderful to see well-established people within institutions, as well as people who work on a level that's so high, spend their time coming here and share the same goal as well. So this event is the first of a series of events that Samtidskunst will arrange. So there will be many more, and what's perfect about this timing is that this city is establishing a campus. We're finally building an arts house, which we've been fighting for years. The Kulturtanken, which is like this public government institution, has granted this city and given money to establish Kunstlab, which is this digital art lab focusing on the digital art expression. And then you have Samtidskunst, which started at this really tiny local place in Gågata or Haugata, and then now you have this. The space offers like over 1,000 square meters, and it's maybe inappropriate for me to say, but I believe that Carl, who wants to be slightly hidden, and Kunsthallen will have a major effect on the arts, not just in Kristiansund, but in all of Nordmøre, if not even Møre og Romsdal. So a word that we are going to use is gentrification. And gentrification, the first time I encountered it was through the minorities from US and UK. The word has a very negative association over there because of the negative effects it has had on diversity in local areas, but also the effect, like low-income people having to move away from these regions. So, for example, the graffiti artist Banksy, he used to tag or spread his art in an area called Angel in London, and he got an angry email from someone living there asking him to move away because his art attracted students. And then the housing prices increased and they could not. So I'm saying it in a very lovely way, but his email was not very generous, I have to say. But so this is what we wonder, will these institutions, will the artistic projects that our presenters today create have a positive or effect, or will it create some challenges? I still want to learn about the association Norway has with the word gentrification. And I wonder if we sort of hide it behind the word områdeløft, which directly translated is like area lift, like lifting up the area. And we know that Trondheim is focusing on this, Stavanger is focusing on this, the NRK is moving their building to like east in Oslo. And so what are they trying to establish? And whenever I talk to people from these different councils, I think about my upbringing in Kristiansund. So for you, there are probably a few of you who don't understand what Kristiansund is, but I grew up in this street, it's over there, it's called Politimester Bendiksens gate. And there's this, there's this like row of apartment buildings, and they are council houses, or like kommunale boliger. And we lived there. It was like a group of refugees, and then you have like alcoholics and drug dealers and elderly people who can't afford anything better. And there are a lot of funny things. You could say that we were like the people who spiced up the city. But a lot of weird things happened there. And right across us were families, and they lived in buildings that were worth like 2 million krona. And what I loved or was so excited about visiting these places was that they had more than one bathroom. That was so cool. And then you go like 3 minutes up and you have elderly houses. Then a building right next to it is this resource center for women who are fleeing from dangerous situations. And then you go 3 minutes up, you have a kindergarten. And then you go down the hill and you get to the opera house. And 1 minute this way again, you come back to the council houses. And so what I believe we also should talk about is what Kristiansund has achieved, which is to ensure that people from different backgrounds can stand right next to each other. What I also felt, maybe, I don't know if it's changed or not, but the distance between someone from a low income and the arts in Kristiansund was not too far away, because the opera house always offered free tickets. You have festivals, you have Sparebanken Nordmøre, who wants to make things cheaper for everyone, every children. And so, again, will these institutions support this, or will they challenge it? And this is also for you, Carl, with this cheeky building that you've created. Ask you guys a few questions, and this is, yes, for the speakers, but also the listeners. You could also think about it. So, in what way can artists contribute in the process of developing cities and societies? How will the institutions like Kunsthallen, Nordmoria, Campus, and Kunstlab, what will they bring to the city, and how will they affect the identity of the people living here? We call ourselves the city of culture. What requires a city to call itself that? Is the nysatsing, I don't know, what is that in English? Does anyone know? Sorry? Establishment, thank you so much. Is the establishment of art and culture in this city part of a gentrification process, or is there actually something deeper behind it? So let me introduce you to our first presenter, Hedda Bremseth. Her previous projects is a mix of performance, films, as well as stand-up, so you will definitely laugh, or I hope at least you will laugh throughout her presentation. But she uses herself as the main character as well as the director. She's her object of research, or research object, that's actually accurate. And she moves between the human aspect as well as like breaking barriers in her own ways. Goes from the documentary style to scenic expressions. And you sit down with a sense of this, this unease, like you get this inner stress. Her movies bring out topics that we all recognize, which is loneliness and feeling outside the society. And I would like to welcome her. So you can come up to the stage. The stage is all yours. And there you go.
Yeah, now you can start laughing. My name is Hedda Bremseth. Can anyone hear me? It's a microphone on. I'm grateful for being here. Thank you, Carl, for inviting me to this. I will give an introduction of my previous works before we go to the project I'm talking about. I went to Svalbard 4 years ago to see Manowar's maybe first and last concert there. Have anyone heard about Manowar? Well, my idea was to find out how you can be an individual in a bigger community, and then I had to go all the way to Svalbard to find out about it. So I actually made a documentary where I made a parade and a party for the Manowar fans who was in Svalbard. So this is a teaser from a music documentary, whose music documentary not about the band, but something else. Is there something screening, or is it... This is one of my jokes. Tror jeg på tisse, ja.
Where's your name again?
Hedda. Hedda Bremseth. World famous
Journalist. Music journalist.
Artist and director. No, world famous and popular artist and director.
That should be on your card.
Yeah. Hvorfor blir man Manowar-fan?
Nei, hvorfor begynner man å puste? Nei, men det har jeg ikke noe godt svar på. Det er arv og miljø. En god kombinasjon.
We have a problem, we don't turn away and walk back. We face it, kick it, and kill it. And this is what war and battle means in Manowar world and among the Manowar fans. Not just shooting bombs or something, no. It's just the power inside. You have to listen to them, you have to read their lyrics, you will see it.
I also have a talk show that's called You Should Endure a Lot, or You Should Handle a Lot. It's called Du skal tåle mye, where I actually invite, or the audience is the participator in the talk show, where I share intimate stories about my life and also make them share things from their life. So the point of the talk show is more of that I want all these traumatic events, call it maybe, to be a cultural event. So when we share it together, it becomes like actually the bigger event of the things we actually want to discuss. All the backstage stories are the best stories. So just to have a little introduction about the talk show, there was me and this grandmother and granddaughter on stage. And I had this wheel of unfortune where they actually got to making jokes about their own suffering. So to decide to talk about it, they wasn't actually sure about what they were going to talk about. So I had to share an intimate story myself, that I was once on a nachspiel where I smoked a bucket. You know, smoking bucket? Have anyone tried it? You should try it. It's something we do in Trøndelag, or we did in our younger days. So I was on this nachspiel, smoking the bucket, and I fall asleep in the kitchen floor. So I didn't wake up before early in the morning, and then I discovered I had peed myself. So to just decide what to do at the situation, I just opened the drawer, took this Rema 1000 bag out of it, and just put it on this pant. And then the pee pant, I had it over my arm, so I just went out, and I saw the next cab. I just rented it, and I just sat down and I just want to go home. That's the story. So this grandmother and granddaughter, they when I shared the story for them, they were this granddaughter said I also have a pee story. And yeah, nice, I want to hear it, or I want to hear all about it. And she said she and her friend were in this akebakke and sitting together, and suddenly she just peed on her friend, peed her from back of her back. So they went down, they became very warm, and they was just sliding down the hill. So I thought it was a terrific story. And also in these talk shows, I make this competition where you have to compete about the worst and the best story to win. And then you're having this eating competition where you eat this candy necklace. And they thought that my story was the worst, but her was the best. So I battled her just to see who won the best story.
Okay, klar, ferdig, gå!
She do it like me? Do she work that body? Throw that ass like pump it hot? Do she handle it like she got a deep throat? I mean, suck that cock till she starts to choke. Do she like to have sex? High off the X? Try with me and tell me who's the best. Do she like the way thongs that you can eat? Do she fucking brains out till you fall asleep? Come on, then, just she
As you see, I won the best story. And to something I don't know if I should say completely different, but something about contemporary art in a local community. Do you know anything about that? I'm actually working with a project now. I was something based on, as I say, being on the outside to look in, or maybe being a part of it. I'm not sure, completely sure, but it's the perspective of growing up as how should I say it? Youth in a local community, and also something about being a 40-year-old artist living in that community. So this is actually based at, I was growing up in Oslo, and when I was 15, in 2001, I moved to Stjørdal. And it was that year called the most boring city in Norway. It actually won the most boring city in Norway. And now I moved back 20 years later, and maybe I've discovered that there's something that's not completely different somehow. And I also noticed that the kids who are growing up there doesn't have that many social opportunities that they actually had in 2008 made this curfew for kids, a lockdown, should we call it, that the kids has to go home at 10 and can't be out after that. So actually I've been talking with those kids at school to think it's interesting that they actually have portforbud, and also try to challenge them on how can we do something about this portforbud. Do you want this rule? And they haven't found out anything else besides that someone has been done some hærverk, and they made this portforbud because of hærverk in the city. And a girl I was talking with, she said that she thinks that some of the guys, 40-year-old, 45-year-old men, they have to go home at 10, but the 45, 37-year-old guys, they can be out to 3 in the night and actually be drunk, and they think that they are doing more hærverk than the kids. So maybe they haven't grown up, and that's an interesting perspective. So to prohibit this portforbud, I decided to make a project which called Hvorfor knuser busskur. And by switching this rule, I want to build this bus stop at the torg in Stjørdal. Let's see. Yes, as you see. And I want me and the kids to build the most universal and coolest and coziest hangout in Stjørdal torg. That's a bus stop. And I wanted to decorate it together, and that I want the whole community to come in there and be a part of the most universal hangout in the universe. So, I've also been talking with different organizations about how we can make this called busskurundersøkelsen. Busskurundersøkelsen, or the bus stop, how should I call it, study. we'll like figure out what is Stjørdal and what can we do about this place to make it cool to hang in. I also had this, what should I call, talk about this bus stop with the older generation in Stjørdal. And they were very, how should I call it, engaged. They were like yelling like, we want the streets back, and how are you going to do this? And good luck. It's the money that are ruling everything, capitalist system, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it could be like, I don't know, a bit resistant, but also something to figure out to what we can do about the local society in it all. So, yeah, part of like growing up in Stjørdal, it was like, you have to like, as you was mentioning about living in this, how's it called, ghetto or in the city. I'm not sure if Stjørdal has so many ghettos, maybe it's just one ghetto. There was also something about like the social opportunities you had as a kid when you were growing up there 20 years ago. And besides now where you can't like go anywhere without the cops chasing you. So this is like one of the local hangouts we have. It's like in a football stadium, and if the kids sit there, they will just be chased by the cops, basically. So, and this is like, it's not in Stjørdal, but I like this experiment of Torud bus stop. There was like this, they said it was the kids, or local newspaper said it was the kids, that actually stole this electric wheelchair and just threw it from, I'm not sure how they made it, if they like speed the electric wheelchair inside to make it crush, or did they throw it? I'm not sure. Can you like see it, like what gravity force did they use actually? Actually very fascinated. But yeah, I'm also talking about, I'm talking with this research center, Hunt, who is like having research on the health on the community in Trøndelag. They say that the younger generation now is struggling more with mental health than ever, and the older generation are like sky high at the moment. They have maybe afford to sit on the shopping mall eating waffles in their bubble jackets, while the kids are just being, I don't know, it's something about the age we're living in now also, with like falling down in this like black hole with all the social media, and also about like how we're using the, how should I call it, force the kids have to the ability to do things. There's like, they're just like squished into this, take this education and get a job and don't be a kid somehow. It's, I don't know. It's also something about like growing up in the local community that like you just have to fit in this way of growing up in a local community. And also something about if you're moving from the local community and you're coming back, are you like doing something better when you come back, or are you just doing just exactly the same that it's always been? That's like something I'm interested in. And also about like this part of living there as well. I'm like, it was like when I was growing up there as a kid, we didn't have so much else to do, like just sitting outside and getting completely drunk, drinking moonshine. So it was something we also did in Stjørdal. We were sitting like on this torg and like drinking moonshine, and like the cops just came and just said that we had to spill it out and then left. So that was mostly that. So there was something about finding a place you can like hang, that you had like these bygdefester, but they're also dead now, so you can't like sit there either. I'm actually talking with this company now, and I also said like we should do the busskur, as we call it. Someone wants to translate busskur-undersøkelsen for me? The bus stop survey. Yes. I said to this company, like, do you want to do this bus stop survey with me? And like, because they say that they use so much money on like all this crushing of the bus stops. And I said, like, yeah, but maybe this project will benefit you. Like, you don't have to spend that money on like removing graffiti or like they build this glass, you know, that like non-destroyable glass, but they can destroy it either way. Like they do crush it to the ground. So, but they have like donated this bus stop to me. So the idea is something about like having this crane come with the bus stop and maybe have this corpse playing, and also make the mayor like handshake. Yes, this is really nice. Finally, we got this bus stop here. That was the only thing we like needed. So yeah, I wanted to like invite the whole community to eat waffle and make the bus stop come and set it on the torg. And then also like now we have to start. Now we have to start to like decorate this bus stop, and I want to do it like with the kids, but also the elderly and also the local community. So it's more something about like the whole 25,000 people have to come and do something about this hangout. Maybe it's like from the older days. I'm not sure if anyone drinks so much moonshine anymore. It's like, I think people are buying more at the liquor store, so. Heimert. Yes. And also something about the culture we had back in the old days, like 20 years ago I was drinking moonshine, but we were also smoking bucket. Like you know what smoking bucket is? Bøtterøyking. Røykebøtte. Men det er i hvert fall sånn at da har du en sånn der 1,5 liter flaske du kapper av. Så legger du liksom sånn hasj og sånt da, oppå tuten der, og så trekker du liksom ned, og så må du liksom inhalere bøtte, og så. Det er liksom, det er skikkelig, det er litt som å drikke heimert, bare litt sånn, ja, vice versa da, på en måte. Ja. Men det kan jo, jeg vet ikke. Jeg kan ikke stå ansvarlig for... I can't be responsible for moonshine or smoking bucket. Sorry. But like, this is a process, so it's something about, I'm not sure what can come in the way. Is it like, will the local community like this? Will the kids enjoy it? I mean, I try to work with kids, but they're like just having this hood over their head and they just don't want to look in my face and like think I'm the stupidest person on earth and I hate you and don't want to listen to you. So. And also about the older people who say like, I haven't liked art before I get like a pensionist. Now I can like it. And now I want to understand it also. But if I don't like it, I don't want to understand it. So it's very difficult. Yeah, it's also something about if you live in a society where, if I have to like compare it to Kristiansund, where I'm like fascinating about, oh, there's something happening here. But when you live in a society where they like just not mentioning this, they just mention that it's easier to get away from here because we live very close to the airport and the biggest city, Trondheim. So do you actually have to do something here? I'm not sure. You can just like make portforbud and then everything will be great. It's something also about when this is more in my imagination of when we're done with the busskur and it's like finished decorating, that maybe you have to like transport it to other local communities. Like the busskur just have to go on tour, and all the local communities like, oh yeah, the bus stop is coming, yay! Like maybe it has to go through Kristiansund and like all the shitty places around the area, and it will be great. It's also there's something about like the time and the money, and it's like how it costs. So it's something about like I would like to have it there for maybe a month or 3, and also make like the documentation of it, make it work like for a week or a month or so. So yes. Yes, I also know that like this performance group, Baktruppen, had this called Stamsund-undersøkelsen, where they actually made I think they called, it was like 20, 30 years ago, where they called everyone in the phone catalog to like make them participate in the Stamsund examination, and there was something about there was like this prize, they could win a trip to Sweden if they participated. And there was also something they had to build on what do Stamsund want, or what do they need, and they built this statue called the Tourist. And they also like had this opening where they tried to like make it fall into the ocean somehow. But there were just like this protest on like, no, we want it back. So it was like back to land. So they have like this tourist statue there. Yes, yes. There was also like there was something much in was in media with Joar Nango's work in Kvam, Odelsgutt og Fantefølge. That also there was something about because they were building these new roads so that people didn't drive by Kvam, so they wanted to have like this statue there, but they didn't like the statue, so they like moved it away with the tractor, but then they regret it, so they put it back. So I know, and trust. It's like when I call local places shithole, I don't mean like completely shitholes. You know what I mean. So it's not negative critique. I'm like super positive about this, and I also think you should be. Time? Okay. Nice.